Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a chance to enjoy lunch today. I wanted to welcome Sharam and Edward, talk about probably one of the most difficult environments to work in inside with U.S. government with all the regulations. So we'll have a Q&A session at the end, but thank you very much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Abel. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good afternoon. So these are all the people that ran out of money, huh? Vegas took all their money. All right, so my name is Ed Holbert. I'm project manager. Sharam Ghaffari is my lead on all the projects and stuff we do. I want to try to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to stop us, ask questions. I'm only going to spend a few minutes here to set the stage. I want to start by giving a little background on our company, talk about the customers that we support, set the stage here for the discussion. Then I'll briefly explain some of the applications that we support, tell you about how we got to using AppDynamics, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sharam for the more interesting part. He's going to go through the implementation and talk about some of the challenges we had, some of the benefits, and everything. And we have a very unique environment. I'm going to leave that up to him to talk to you guys about. And talk a little bit about the benefits provided by AppDynamics, and then end with some takeaways for you guys. And then open it up for some questions. But really feel free along the way to ask questions. I'm really excited to be here. I appreciate AppDynamics allowing us to come here. This is my first year here at AppDynamics, and it's exciting that I get to kind of speak in front of everybody and tell you a little bit about what we're doing. I have some other people that are here. My boss is down here in the front row. Another one of my technical guys is up here in the front row. They've been coming for a few years, so it's been a great conference, and I just want to say thanks for having us. So, our first company was called ASRC Aerospace. It started as a subsidiary to our parent corporation in Alaska called Arctic Slope Regional Corporation. And it's a Native American corporation that was formed as a result of the Land Claims Settlement Act back in 1971. ASRC Aerospace was formed in 2003. They made and managed circuit boards and stuff like that for outer space, for some of the satellite communications, and that's how they got their start. Most of our work back then was done with NOAA and NASA. A couple years later, they formed our holding company called ASRC Federal. And that was set up to manage multiple subsidiaries to try to win and focus on winning government contracts. We're headquartered in Beltsville, Maryland, pretty far away. We have employees in over 40 states across the U.S. with contracts in almost every federal agency that you can imagine. We employ over 5,000 professionals. We're focused on technical excellence. And our annual revenue with all of our subsidiaries is almost $1 billion a year. We have 4 core areas that we focus on: engineering and aerospace, logistics, mission systems, and information technology. Those 4 areas fall under one of the 3 operating groups here. And logistics and engineering here, aerospace and solutions, and obviously we fall under the technical branch. So that's all I wanted to say about our company. A subsidiary that we work for is called ASRC Federal Data Solutions. We support a federal agency in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. We support a number of programs with that agency, with multiple programs, a number of different applications. We do support a few enterprise applications. We have the IBM Rational Tool Suite for our developers. And we have the SAP Business Objects in our enterprise for reporting tools and querying, things like that. But most of the over 40 plus, these are just a few of our applications. We support over 40 applications in our environment. Most of them are very complex, homegrown applications. And the 2 that we're going to focus on here are the claims processing and the case management system. And where our job is to support them in the development environment, the test environment, and in the production environment. And Sharam's going to go into more detail, in particular, about how we use AppDynamics to monitor our case management system here in claims processing. But these are 2 of our most complex applications in our environment. The annual benefits that are paid out by this system is about $5 billion a year. That's $5 billion. 1,200 claims examiners across the nation work on those cases to help pay those benefits. So you get the idea here, the breadth and the size of the customer base that we have. We support over 10,000 users and hundreds of developers across the nation. So why AppDynamics? Well, we need an application performance monitoring tool because when these applications have issues, productivity slows down or stops, that means these payments also slow down and sometimes stop, neither of which is good. So when that happens, a lot of times the congressional folks and staffers from the Hill are down knocking on the doors of our program's offices asking what's going on, asking some tough questions. So we've been able to, with AppDynamics, we didn't really have a particular goal in mind when we set out to use AppDynamics in terms of what we wanted to do in terms of a percentage. But I'm proud to say and happy to say that we've been able to actually cut our priority 1 incidents by 75% and our mean time to resolution by almost 85% with AppDynamics. Almost every day, one of these complex applications was going down, latency problems, people couldn't log in, they're getting kicked out of the system. It really affected their ability to work because these claims examiners were actually on a matrix-based, performance-based, situation. So if they were having problems, they were not happy because they couldn't meet their quotas. So let me just tell you briefly about our troubleshooting process before we started using AppDynamics. When a problem started, like I've been hearing all week, we heard it from the end users. Much like we've been hearing from people all week long, this is what's been happening. So we couldn't be proactive. When our help desk would send us a ticket, what would happen is we would have to send an email to our technical distribution list that would have 180 people on that technical distribution list to try to reach out to all the different groups and different contractors, the database team, the middle tier team, the Windows team, the network team. It just became ridiculous. So right after we would send the email, we would then try to schedule a conference call immediately to try to get at least one representative of each of those groups on the call to try to determine what the root cause was or to try to solve the problem. Of course, many times we couldn't even get the right people on the call, so we would repeat that process many times over the course of the day to try to figure out what the problem was. Sharam sometimes would even spend countless hours pouring through heap dumps and logs and things like that to try to determine the cause. Many times we wouldn't even be able to figure out what that cause was because as you all know in the IT business, once the problem goes away, people forget about it. They go back to what they're doing and it kind of just, until it happens again, it doesn't arise. Nobody really says anything. Of course, for us, it usually ends up being the next day because every day we were having a problem. So how do we get here? Well, as much as we like a certain vendor or a certain tool in the federal government, we have certain rules that we have to follow, certain due diligence that we have to perform. We can't just pick something out of the air and buy it. There's a lot of work that has to go in. It's not easy convincing the federal government to buy anything. So we have what's called a RITS process, and it's just a request for information technology services where it's an internal situation where the customer can submit a form, and then the request is vetted, it goes out to the technical team, and we try to see if there's anything in our environment that could solve those requirements of the RITS. We do an impact analysis. If there's some software that needs to be purchased, we include that with a level of effort and all that sort of stuff. So upon approval of that, we will then go to we get approval from the customer. What we did was we brought in a bunch of vendors to try to see what their solutions had to offer, and we would let them demonstrate for us. And we narrowed the selection down to 2 companies. Obviously, AppDynamics was one of them. Our goal here was to be able to install it in our development environment, provide a proof of concept for the 2 solutions that we felt was best, and then have the customer make the decision because we didn't want to shoehorn them into anything. So we continued to evaluate and do our research to validate these solutions we thought was best. And it's never easy convincing the government to spend money on new technology. So in this case, AppDynamics being a leader in the Magic Quadrant was really pretty impressive and helped a lot with us getting our, being able to get this done. So the real work then started. We rolled up our sleeves in our development environment. We worked closely with AppDynamics technical team and some of the other team we tried to work with to try to install this in our development environment. AppDynamics was the best solution by a mile and the easiest and fastest to set up. In fact, it was the only solution, Sharon will talk about this, the only solution that actually worked in our environment, and it actually did what they said it would do. We spent several weeks with the other company and just couldn't get it to work. So the huge difference maker for us was that AppDynamics really worked so closely with us. They were very patient with us, and if Mike Fraga was in the room, he would really appreciate this because we spent a lot of time talking with him about this. But we initially convinced our customer to spend a couple dollars, and we bought 2 licenses of AppDynamics to start, to put in our development environment. Our hope was that we would show enough value in the development environment that they would buy off on it, and then we would be able to make the larger purchase and put it in the entire environment. So it worked. The developers, management, they were genuinely impressed with the monitoring capability and the drill down capability on their application. And we resolved a couple of code issues with them immediately in a development environment and saved them a ton of time releasing poor code in production along the way. So in the end, we made a larger purchase, and today the entire environment in dev, test, and production are all covered with AppDynamics. We are also continuing to identify some poor code that was in production that we're still helping them with, and we hope to kind of expand this to the additional 40 other applications that we have. So what shined here for AppDynamics? I kind of alluded to it earlier, but Sharam's going to address some of these during his live demo, and you can read for yourself too, but I wanted to point out a couple of my favorites. The fast and easy and auto discovery, we were up and running literally in 2 weeks, and we were able to start showing some value immediately. The easy license model, it's not easy, again, to convince the federal government to spend money, but it made a lot of sense with the subscription model. And so it made it really affordable. That's why we were able to pull that off. And then the low overhead. Because of the application was so complex, it was so volatile, that any change in the environment at all really affected this particular application. So even the smallest changes made a big difference. So for me, since it was so sensitive, it was a big deal. So the bottom line is AppDynamics really worked for us. And at this time, I think what I want to do is, this is really the more fun stuff for you guys, but this is really what I think is the best part. So I'm going to turn it over to Sharam and let him take you through our implementation and show you this live in our environment.
First of all, thank you for coming. I'm not going to go through how complex is our environment or what is behind the scene of our environment to provide the solution or services to our customer. We are service provider to our customer. So first thing that we had to provide is visibility to their application. And I'm going to go through the application complexity. Okay, that's correct direction. We had application that's been developed, start to be developed 1999 with AJB1, if you guys are familiar with it. All the stuff, JDBC1, hadn't been upgraded since then. I still just add a feature, but one of the, at that time, was one of the biggest Java application running on a government infrastructure. We started with that and went to the production in 2001. There are many claim examiners putting day and night on the application. They were performance-based claim examiners. So the performance, the number of the claim that they process every day, they count against their performance evaluation. And as you can see, I'm not going to go through what it was, but what it was at that time was we had a Delphi developer, so we had to have come to Java object, and there was the design was having Java container running on PC desktop. So we have an EJB container on the desktop talking with COM object, bridge, and sending to Java object, sending to application server. At that time, we choose WebSphere 4, believe it or not. It's IBM WebSphere 4, and was database Informix. Then bought by IBM, we become DB2. Then we migrate to DB2. Besides of that, I'm going to say how old is this application and how critical is this application is, as Ed said, it provides money to the people. If it's application down, people don't get their money. It has a visibility across the entire organization. So it was critical application to have a visibility, and downtime was kind of charge back to the service provider that why we have a downtime. It has so much visibility. I cannot emphasize enough. So this is the application that it's been delivered to us. And as you can imagine, we have a Java running on a PC desktop across the country. We have a site, 16 sites across the country, Jacksonville, Seattle, you name it, we have a site. And these are connected through the WAN. And the beauty of AppDynamics is you can see right there. We never were able to show it how it is. This is not through the web. It is through our WAN. And the connection that provided is to each site. Each site has a different connection speed. And as you can see, we have a Java container running on each desktop. So we have to push Java agent of the application, AppDynamics, to each desktop to provide the monitoring, dive into the calls graph to the desktop. That was a big challenge for us because each PC has its own requirement, has its own setup, has its own image, and pushing the image out there, I'm going to go through it, how we did it. It was a challenge. This is our dashboard. This is our daily dashboard. I'm going to go through the live for this dashboard. So we push agent to all these PCs, and we push, and the center you see, this is our cluster of application server. It's a Java application server, and a Java container on a PCs. We have a database. It's been monitored with the database agent, and we have a mail server, as you can see, and we have as you can see, LDAP, that is our authentication repository. We're not monitoring mail server and LDAP. We don't have an agent for that, but we do have for client and the servers. That was the goal. That was the providing visibility to this application. People were calling to us. Yes, sir.
Go help him. Can you ask the question again so everybody can hear you, sir?
Was the reason there's no connection to the LDAP because of security concerns?
No, there is a connection to the LDAP. As you can see, sorry.
The bottom button.
Back.
Is it on the same tier?
You see this is the RMI, this is the LDAP. You see that LDAP call?
Yes.
And that's a call. It's been not monitored because we don't have an agent on the LDAP. The LDAP, I can go through it. This is an IBM Secure Way product. It is not Microsoft Active Directory. It is the same protocol, but it is different. It is the authentication repository, as we can call it. And we don't monitor it. We don't have any reason to monitor it.
Okay.
It doesn't provide anything other than you are authenticated or not. There is no ACL there. There is no authorization. There is just the authentication there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So we have a LDAP, as I said, is a IBM Secure Way. This is a mail server. And we had to provide visibility to this application. Before, you can imagine, remove this from the picture. If we receive the call, we didn't know what's going on. WAN is slow, network is slow, mail server is slow, DNS is slow. What's going on? We didn't have any visibility to this application. And we were just, as Ed go through it, we were receiving call, and we get everybody on phone, what you can find, if we can find. If not, move forward, restart everything, restart your PC. You cannot imagine. We send an email to all these district office, Seattle, Jacksonville, everybody, get off, restart your PC, come back in half an hour, restart, everybody happy. So we didn't have anything running on these environments. After this, I'm going to dive into how we instrument these Java container to the AppDynamics, how we instrument application server to the AppDynamics, and how all the discoveries work for that. And then I'm going to show you guys, dive into why is this red and how we get that red and what does that mean. What is the center circle means, and why is it blue, why is it red, what does it mean? And then we also have another one. If you can see down here, I put it intentionally. This is red. What does red mean? Any questions so far? So this is our instrumentation for Java client. If you go through the call graph of your application, you can get a snapshot or talk with the developer. You have to have a correct entry point for your Java POJO calls to get the hook of the AppDynamics to your Java container. If you go so high, you get so much call captured, and you get lost of the tracking of the correct call. If you go so low of the call graph, you not have a complete visibility of your application. So you have to have a correct entry point. And if you have a call graph on your AppDynamics, even on a snapshot, you can see this object. You can dive into this, and that's where correct hook comes to the picture. And this is what we define. We work with AppDynamics, and as soon as we define this, all Java clients come alive. And before this, we only have center and nothing else around it. And after we put that hook, these all sites come alive. And after that, auto discovery of the AppDynamics then help us discover all the business transactions, discover all the calls, and then what is beautifully done with AppDynamics is the unique ID, the GUID that they put on a call is unique across the transaction. No matter it is local or global transaction, it is unique across the transaction. Then you can see no matter your cluster definition on your application server, you have a full call graph of the single call goes to this server, goes to another server in the same cluster, goes back to the client, come back again. You have a global transaction tracking across your call graph. And that was the beauty of it. So then I'm going to show you guys how that helps us. Go to my slide. This is our entry point. Then, as you can see, I'm not going to go through it. If you have a question, just raise your hand up. So we're defining this entry point for application level. I'm not going to go through each tier. We define, each of these sites as a tier, and each PC on the site as a node. So that's how we match the hierarchy of our organization to AppDynamics definition, and that worked very well. So I define this as the application level, and everybody down the stream, yes, sir.
He's got a microphone for you.
How long did it take for you to instrument it in order to be able
Sure,
to
the question is how long it takes to find this correct entry point. Believe it or not, after 3 tryouts, we found the entry point. Less than 1 day, we found the correct entry point. All the site was alive. That was the question? Did I answer the question? Yes, sure. So as I said, entry point is very important. This is actually
Ram, hold on. We have another question here.
When you're instrumenting POJOs, do you need to have quite a close relationship with the developers? Like if a developer goes and refactors that method name,
for finding this entry point?
No. So say you found an entry point in the POJO and it was a method, and then I'm a developer and I go, oh, refactor that. Does that ever happen, or? Sure, absolutely it does happen. Okay. I used to be developer for this application. Yep. So I know, and then we have an in-house developer for the application. We communicate correctly. We sit on the same screen, and we define, because as I said, this is a COM object to Java object conversion. There's a bridge. So I have to be not inside of the bridge, because bridge has its own objects passing around, and it has to be right after the bridge when the bridge fire up to the application server. And this is exactly where it is. And as you can see, JIntegra is our bridge. The name of the company is JIntegra. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Look at your time.
Okay. So this is our entry point. This is our transaction performance. I'm showing in this picture, you go to the health rule. I'm showing why this red is, why this red. Where is this red coming from? This is very nice. I'm going to health rule, create transaction performance on as you can see, on a node level. As simple as that. As soon as you define this, you may trigger up and down with critical or warning condition based on your baseline. But as soon as you do that, those red line or yellow pops up. And it's amazingly easy. Same thing for tier level. So we have a node level. I want to know if PC is slow or the whole site is slow. If the PC is slow, it's something that PC is doing wrong or the user doing wrong or the whole site is slow. If the whole site is slow, that's my tier level. And I go all the nodes, capture all the nodes, and I'll add all the nodes, and that might become my tier level performance. Then I compare the tier level to the baseline. And we defined the baseline, kind of tweak the baseline, because I brought up that to the meeting that the baseline of the default baseline maybe has some tweak on it. You have to understand your business process. If you have some, because default baseline for AppDynamics is 1 day before for 30 days. That means if I'm getting one business transaction call, I'm comparing it to day before and averaging it for last 30 days. That's maybe somehow become problematic if you have an end of the month reporting going on. So it's 31st, then you have an issue that, okay, I'm not comparing to the correct baseline. Then if you have an easy Monday and very heavy traffic on Wednesday, so you're comparing Wednesday to Tuesday or Tuesday to Monday, that's maybe not correct comparison. So you want to get, for us, was a week was a very good, because we always, federal government, have a slow Friday. Everybody taking off. But so comparing Friday to Thursday, maybe not good comparison. So we change the baseline. I'm going to show you, we change the baseline, capture 1 week, and compare each transaction for 1 week for last 3 months. And that's a better baseline for us, at least, to compare. So when this center become red, when this center become red, I can trust it. Nowadays, we develop the process for monitoring the application, and we train people. When they see this red, they can trust the red. Before the phone ring, they know what to do. And that's how you have to go to your organization, find the business process, and then match and it's absolutely very easy. It's just a matter of doing it and changing maybe the culture. What challenge we had? I'm going to go through it. You can read it, but I mentioned it. We had a distributed environment, and it was all Java agent. It wasn't browser. We have a couple of browser applications that is not critical, but our critical application was Java-based. So we have a 400 Java server across each site. Then they come up and say, we want to have working remotely through the Citrix be monitored. Our work remotely system is provided through the Citrix. This application runs through the Citrix as well. So you can log into your home and log to the Citrix, then load the Delphi application through the Citrix, work through it. I have to run Java agent through the Citrix. And that's what you see right this corner. This is 448 agents running on a Citrix. What we did is we pushed Java agent to VDI image of the Citrix. Each virtual desktop Windows system comes up through Citrix, load that Java agent. As soon as it loads up Java agent, it creates the graph to the controller, it's alive. And when they log off, that image gone, Java agent gone, license gone. So we never go, and that's another issue we have so the license remain residual on AppDynamics controller. Even I don't have 448 license through Citrix, but it's still showing us that 440 user is logging through Citrix, and it's not true. We have to work it. I think it's a bug. We have a DB agent. I wanted to touch base on DB agent permission. We didn't run our database agent on the database server. We run it remotely because of the security, because of a lot of restriction we had. So this agent is running, our database agent that providing right this here is running remotely on middleware application server. On one of them, you only need running on one of them. And getting the correct permission to get the database snapshot, it was challenging. It was challenging for us. Attaching VDI image was challenging for us, so each PC comes on a Citrix have it. One thing that we don't have it, and I hope AppDynamics put it on the next version, is you go to the call graph comes out, a snapshot comes up, you find a JDBC that is slow. You click on a JDBC, query comes up. You have this query. Then you want to click on that query, go to the database snapshot, see the database call graph, see the database perspective of that query. You can explain the call, you can explain the query. This correlation on AppDynamics still not exists. I hope they release that call. I'm not sure if you're not following me or not, but if you have a question during the live demo, I can show it to you. Still upgrading Java agent, now this software has to manage. So now with a new generic agent, hopefully we can manage these, but now updating these agents, because these become our software to manage, and we have to now to work through the SCCM to push those Java agents to the PCs. That's going to be challenging if you have such an environment. Hopefully with generic agent that they just released it, we don't have this issue. Default baseline, I touched base with that. What we got out of it?
Go to the demo. Just go to the demo so you have time.
Okay, yeah, okay, sure. What we got out of it is, I mean, you guys know, more than application performance, we got visibility, we got trust. We cut the finger point. You guys are all familiar with it. It's nothing new I'm saying here, but it was very beneficial. I'm going to go live now. So I'm going to switch my PC here. If this HDMI, here you go. Okay.
You only have like 7 minutes or 8 minutes. You're going to have to rush.
Oh, that's 17.
You have to leave 10.
Okay, sure. As you can see, I'm just explaining right here. For example, this is live. This is last 15 minutes, as you can see. And application is running. We have a Jacksonville 1 issue. What we can see here now is I have a Jacksonville 1 node it has an issue. It's not a concern of whoever monitoring the application. And I'm not comparing to any baseline. I can compare, if you can see, I'm comparing weekly trend for last 3 months. Then the baseline kick in, I'm comparing, I know what it is, and well, so far everything. Let me drag this up here. You can see one node has a red and one node has a yellow. And that's a health rule violation that we defined. This is my health rule. If you have a question, I can jump into the health rule. This is applied to all my nodes, as you can see. This is health rules for a node, and it's applied to all the nodes, as you can see. So all my Java nodes is inheriting my health rule right here. If there's a question mark, you see if this guy is question mark, he was logged in and logged off, so Java agent went off. That's what it means. We have a couple of health rules for garbage collection. You can easily define it. And this is a tier level health rule, and it's loading. And that's where it's defined. I can show it to you. There you go. So this is loading. So this is how I define my health rule for the tier level. For us, tier is a site. Jacksonville, Boston, everybody that is on that site. So I'm not comparing all sites against one baseline. This gives you comparing each site with its own baseline. And we create, but I'm comparing through the baseline by 3 deviation for the critical and warning for 2 deviation for the baseline. As simple as that, my baseline and my tier is defined. I'm going to go through a couple of benefits that we captured. This is my database snapshot. We had high on execution time, as you can see. I can jump into the execution time if you have there is no response time for database. If you guys familiar with, there is an execution time. So it goes by execution time and performance measured by execution time of the query. As you can see, our execution time norm is here, and if you see time spent on execution is 3 minutes and goes, and right here we had a high execution time. That's where AppDynamics jump in. That why, if this was before AppDynamics, we had a downtime. We had to everybody go off, shut down your PC, come back in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. During this time, yes, sir.
I'm looking here, and it looks as though there's some customization that's in place. So my question is, how much, when you look at what you have in place and following best practices, did you have to deviate from the best practices to incorporate what you have working for you now?
Yes, as I said, we had, for this what you see on a database, we did not have any customization. This is out of the box.
Okay, that's for the database.
This is
Let's-
database
let's-
agent, correct.
So when you go back to the health rules that you have in place.
To application
from the-
level,
From the node.
sure,
from the node?
I go back here. For the nodes,
Yes.
correct. I have 4 Hertzler to create, 1 entry point to create for the Java and the client, and a couple of baseline configuration, and I was alive. That's all you see. Besides, after pushing agent on the clients, those are different stories, how we're going to manage that. But besides of that, on application, AppDynamics, I have 5 configuration. That's what you see.
Follow. All right, thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Does each of those nodes represent a JVM?
All of them nodes represent JVM.
So in order to get this, did you have to get a license for each of those
Correct.
JVMs? So the total sum of licenses is the sum of the numbers we're seeing in the green box? Is that correct?
So we have, I can show you on our license, we have 427 license, and that's what you see here. We do have a bug that's running. If you add up, it's gone. So this 50 you can see here, this is number of the Java that are user logged in, that application is running on the PC. If the user not logged into the application, that agent doesn't come up, correct? It's like application server. Imagine application server running on a PC. So if the user is not logged in, I don't see it, and he doesn't use the license.
Right. Okay. So
The only issue that we have is on a Citrix, you see 400 something, and that's where the user log in, log off. The license is disappear from controller, it's released, but it still shows the license is used. You see that corner, 235. That's whether it shows. That's the only issue we have right now.
Okay, so what was the max number of licenses that you had
We
to
have
get?
427.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
And that's, if you add them up, everybody alive, we have 427.
Thank you.
Question, Mecca.
Yes, sir.
Besides the application dashboard that you're showing right now,
Oh, yeah.
do you have any custom dashboards that you guys have built?
Yes, we do. We do have, this application exposed to business owner. And what we did, what the culture that we changed in our organization is, I'm system admin, correct? I'm not going to have only one that use this application. We expose this. You want it, you get it, because we want to have visibility. Your manager, your developer, you can have it.
So just to add to that, all the 16 sites we have across the country, they have a site manager at each location. Each site manager has a dashboard to see their site. They see visibility into their site.
We don't have analytic dashboard, but we do have APM dashboard for them. And because they are business owner, they know if the Java, this class is slow, that means my claim examiner is slow. So they know what it means. But we do have a response time on our dashboard. We do have a couple of calls on our dashboard that it shows to them. I can show you to do. Do you want I can jump into it and show our dashboards.
I mean, at this point, you guys can probably keep asking questions because we're kind of running around,
These are
around the
dashboards.
10-minute mark. So he can keep showing stuff. You guys can keep asking questions if you want to do it that way.
And that's what I wanted, actually. Yes, sir.
Where's my little guys? Where y'all? You're falling down on the job here.
With the sensitive nature of your business, I was wondering, do you host and control yourself, or are you using AppDynamics FedGlove?
No, this is on-premise.
On-premise?
Yeah, this is on-premise. The controller is on-premise.
And did you have to do anything? Is there any information that you really wanted to collect, but you just leave out of it just so you don't have to put any type of personal information or identifiable information in there, or did you just collecting it all?
So by default, good question. By default, AppDynamics, so you have a query, and the query has PII information, correct? That's where the PII is reserved. If you have a prepared statement, the query will show up as a question mark, question mark, question mark. It's not going to export. By default, AppDynamics does not capture after compilation of the query. But there is an easy setup. We have to go through our federal management to get the permission, and they said, enable it. They want to see it. So we enable that. So all the query is raw. All the query is captured is raw. So you can see everything. They want to see it. We don't have any problem with it.
Some more questions? Do you want to show them one of the mysteries that we solved while
Sure,
they're
that's what I am. So this is another mystery that we solved. Before, as you can see, all the guys know if you have a lock wait time. This lock wait time, if I have a 2000K lock wait time, my application is down. Correct? And if I don't have this visibility, I don't have to do. Before, restart the database server so they clear the lock. That's what we do. Now I know what it is. And even you can drag and find which query has this lock.
Right.
And we find the query. As easy as that.
And developers had to stop pointing at us. No offense to any developers out there. I'm sure you guys are all great at it. This application, though, has literally millions and millions and millions of lines of code over 10, 12 years. This application is that old? The government really needs to kind of get rid of this, but it pays $5 billion a year, and they'd have to run something next to it simultaneously, and that's costly too. So developers have come and gone. There's a lot of patches in there. So having AppDynamics, which is cool, is they do quarterly reporting, monthly reporting, and what happens a lot of times is there'll be a report that gets run once a quarter, and it'll hose the system. Well, before we had AppDynamics, we didn't know what it was. We would just have to wait it out. Now with AppDynamics, we can show where the query actually was. We could send that back, and now we're actually, next time they run that next quarter, we don't have that problem again. So.
It's been live since almost beginning of the end of 2014, beginning of 2015.
It took us longer to get it in place than we've been using it, though. I'll tell you that much. We've been working with those guys for about 3 years now. You can come up and we'll talk to you after. I don't want to disparage any other companies, but I'd be happy to. We'd be happy to tell you why it didn't work, what didn't work, and all that. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I can share too if you
Believe me,
developing-
we're this the federal government. As much as we love AppDynamics, we couldn't just say this is it, guys, because Gartner says. We still had to go through the process, right? And that's a good thing too, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The code that you showed that showed the lock time, and because of I've worked with a number of very old applications that they don't want to change because of the fact of developers that have come and gone, and this particular thing has worked, and everyone's depended on it for quarter or each time it runs. So when you pointed out the exact code that was locking the system, did they do a modification of that code and roll it in place for the next quarter?
Yeah.
So
And then at that point, you look at the same point in time and show the dramatic drop in this, correct?
So this is how we approach the developer, because, I mean, in our organization, developer become sometimes offensive because they are service provider, they are subcontractor. So we create a process to communicate the issue back to business owner, back to developers. We don't go back to developer, this is your issue, you have to solve it. We go through the channel, but that's what it happened. We get the code, this is the part that you want, this is a snapshot, everything you know, let me know, or you have a visibility.
We go to the federal manager, and they just make the decision on whether they want to spend the effort to do it or not. And then if they release it, we have a release comparison. You can really go back at this time or after release, you can compare. And
we did.
most times they do. Most times they resolve it because we're able to point to exactly where the problem is.
Exactly what it is. It's not
A large effort, right?
Correct.
Right.
And that's what another example I have right here. We found the CPU usage is so high, we add a CPU, you can see the drop. It's clear visibility, and it shows it resolves the issue.
Some more questions? We still got a couple minutes. This is good, guys. I appreciate the questions. It's great.
I do have
We have
another
question here.
Sure. I want to switch back to this mystery.
Yeah.
I can.
So,
Yes, sir.
apart from actually purchasing it in the first place, what other regulatory types of challenges do you have?
Regular challenges?
Regulatory.
Or regulatory. Well, we are on part of the federal government that we don't receive lots of PII, or the PII is not top secret or whatever. So we have to go through the channels to get the raw query as he asks. That was the only issue we had to resolve.
The only thing that there was some concern about with the union and all was the big brother, right? Now you're running this on my desktop and you can kind of see what I'm doing. So, you know, nothing really came of it, but it was a little bit of a concern at one point along the way because, you know, the visibility that the AppDynamics provided. But as you said, we're not really under any other regulations.
Was there a lot of concern about it at the start, though, in the sense of, oh, we're regulatory, so that's scary? And
yeah,
so
but
don't
you know
do
that,
anything.
yes, sir, there was. But that's really up to the federal managers to decide. I mean, we're the service provider.
Yeah.
We bring the technology forward. We try to help them move along. And it's their call. So if they decide to do it, then we do it. If they don't, then, you know, it's not nothing we can do about it. It's on us. It's not on us either. We're not in the federal meetings. It's really hard for us to say what their concerns were at the federal level with this, but in the end, once we showed them in development, literally in 2 weeks when we set this up out of the box and we showed the developers some code that was a problem that would have gone into production a week later, when they saw that, that's really all they needed. At that point, they were like, how much is this? You know, and I mean, that's just, we're paying out a lot of benefits, so. We have another question in the back. You want to switch that over? Last question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's switch it over. Because I want to put the survey out.
Last question. Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, in regards to, I guess, like the purchasing of it, the contract that you have, was it like a firm fixed price contract that, you really needed to worry about, I guess how it is that you would spend that money in order to be able to acquire it? If you
I don't know if I'm really understanding the question. I can't really hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? So the contract that you have right now with the government, is it like a firm fixed price? So how is it that you kind of justified being able to spend that? Did you go through some sort of like value assessment or something like that?
We did. Yeah, in the beginning, I went through that. First of all, we didn't buy the product. We didn't really have a mechanism on our contract to do that. It's called ODC, other direct costs. We didn't purchase it for them. We took it to the federal leadership. We had to get a sponsor. Anytime we bring new technology or need anything, we have to have a sponsoring organization because we're OCIO. We don't have any of our own money. So we have to make the customers pay for it. So we built the case, and this particular customer agreed to use his money out of his pool to buy this. And now it's proliferating because he was just one group. Over 40 applications, there's many, many programs. So now it's starting to resonate. People are starting to hear that this AppDynamics is really making a difference for this one particular program. So it's starting to really gain some legs here. But we didn't make the purchase. We just went through the process to help them make a decision on whether that was worth buying or not.
Well, thank you very much.
Can you put the... Guys, thank you very much
Thank
for
you for
being
everybody
here.
to come.
I wanted to put the last... I was supposed to put the